Good morning, everybody, from my part as well. My name is Chris Allexandre. I'm the Global Head of Sales and Marketing, and welcome again to the Renesas Capital Market Day. What I'm going to share with you today is the vision and the action we are taking to deliver on this growth ambition that we have set for ourselves. Let me start with the playbook, which basically sets this vision. This vision of our growth is centered around two things, what we call broader and deeper. Selling more Renesas product and increasing our dollar content and systems to our customers is what we call deeper. Selling to more customers and expanding our customer base, both product and technologies, is what we call broader. Those together will help us to diversify our revenue base from a product and customer standpoint, which will ultimately give us more vector of growth and deliver a sustainable long-term growth to the 20+ billion that we've set for ourselves. Let's talk about deeper first. As we continue to invest in our portfolio, and Salesh and Vivek will talk about the investment that we are making from an R&D standpoint. As we continue to make acquisition, we have a lot more to offer to our customers to basically populate the board and capture more of their content and the BOM. Also, we are leveraging our strong and expanding position on the embedded processing side with a lot of MCUs that we are shipping to a lot of customers and expanding on the MPU side, which we can use to wrap around analog, power, connectivity, and all other product that we have. On the broader side, essentially gaining more customers is going to help us to add, on top of the revenue we do with big customers, a lot of revenue coming from mid to medium-sized to smaller-sized customers, which will have revenue as well as both margin. This whole vision is centered around what Shibata-san talked about, which is this selling solution and expanding our cross-selling capability. We talked about the win combo, and I will go in the detail, but this is really kind of the baseline, the baseline of our strategy. If you go to next slide, it shows how we execute on that vision. Essentially, what we've done is we've divided the sales force into a 4+1 lane. Each of the verticals that we focus on, IoT, infrastructure, industrial, and automotive, for each of those, we have a dedicated worldwide sales and FAE team that is engaging globally with all the big customers of today and the big customers of tomorrow, where we can drive growth in those equipment. We also, below those equipment, are addressing a lot of sub-segments that we can drive growth. For instance, that would be cloud in infrastructure, that would be telecom or networking, or that would be factory automation and building automation industrial. So those teams are globally focusing on the execution to win at those set of global customers and local customers that will drive the growth in those equipments, as well as making sure that we duplicate the success from one customer to the other. And this is where we really take deeper to the next level by improving this duplication and that success. On the broader side, we have a dedicated sales force that really partner with distribution, that is deployed geographically in all the key territories around the world, that is focusing on finding new customers, engaging with them, making sure that we provide the full solution of Renesas using the winning combos and making them more and more engaged and more significant. The other thing, and I call that the sixth lane, which is something that Shibata-san talked about as a growing investment, which is a digital lane. We actually believe that mid to long term, more and more of our business will actually be digital enabled or actually fully transactional digitally with the customers. And that's something we are investing on, both from a web standpoint, from a capability of tools standpoint, and a lot of things that we are doing to really enable our customers to do more on the digital side. And we'll come to that in a second. If you go to next slide, as we combined sales and marketing earlier this year, we set 3 priorities for us to go and execute on that vision. Number 1 was the organization development to enable the future. Renesas wants to grow more than 50% over the next multiple years to get to the 20 billion. We are in constant transformation, so we need to continue to improve the organization and skills and leadership to go and execute on that. Number 2 was to execute on the go-to-market I just talked about. How do we make sure that we execute day in and day out on basically this go-to-market and this broader and deeper? And the last but not least is to deliver results. Okay? In this first soft environment, what we want to focus on is making sure that we, at the end of the year, execute on this designing goal that we have which will set ourselves for success for 2030, as Shibata-san and Shinkai-san just talked about before. If you go to next slide, please. Let me start with the organization. We are moving from a product sales to a solution sales, okay? The winning combos are helping us to get there, and it's a continuous improvement on how we leverage this full portfolio to be able to capture more of the system of the customers. And this is kind of where we continue to improve the skills and the focus and the capabilities of our team. Number two, as we combined the organization together, we were able to drive on the sales operation and, of course, the digital marketing side a lot more efficiency by combining all market together into one sales team. The third one is very important, is how we basically leveraged the broad sales and marketing deployed regional organization to go broader in all markets. In the past, we used to focus on the automotive side on the big customers, and now combining these sales and marketing together under one unit, leveraging the distributors all together across all markets, we're able to go a lot broader, and we have a big strategy on increasing the number of customers on the automotive side. Last but not least, technical team. As the Shibata-san talked about, as we see growingly need for our customers to tap into technologies that come across the Renesas portfolio, we've put together the technical team into one organization so that all the combos, all the system expertise, all the product expertise can be used seamlessly across all markets that we serve, the 4+1, as I mentioned. Now let's talk about next slide. Let's talk about the winning combo. Shibata-san talked about it. We started this journey back in 2019 with a very humble 35 winning combos. Again, the winning combos are system architecture that we provide our customers to help them to design their application. They are using the full extent of Renesas portfolio. And now, a few years later, we now have more than 400 winning combos across multiple applications and multiple segments. And you can see here we have winning combos across the multiple market that we're focusing on, as well as the mass market and key technology. What is very interesting to look at is as we get more traction and more feedback and more engagement from our customers, we are improving on the quality of the combos. And what was a paper design that got to a system architecture has now become a full system hardware and software solution that we provide the customer that we call proof of concept. And if you go to next slide, you see that on the left side, as the number of combos are growing, and can you go back one slide, please? As you see the number of combos growing and the target to be at 500 by the end of the year, you see a growing number as a percentage of those combos being what we call full system solution and POC, with 35% at the end of the year that are real full system solution we provide the customers. On the right side, this is where you see how those combos are really changing our business with the customers. This is the design-in coming from the winning combos that we've introduced. Of course, we had a slow start because we had to build and change the mindset, both our teams as well as the customer. And then you start to see that we had tailwind coming from customers, distributors, our own sales force, and the perception of the customers of Renesas completely changed. And we had a big acceleration in 21 to 22, getting to about 30% of our total design-in 2022 coming from combo. As Shibata-san talked about, we've set a very aggressive goal for this year where we believe 50% of our design-in will come from the combo, which really illustrates how we are moving from a product sale organization to really a system sale organization, and that will drive the growth for the future. Go to next slide, please. I talked about go-to-market and organization. So we have those 4 global vertical sales and FAE organizations that focus on the infrastructure, IoT, industrial, and automotive. They are global. They use local resource to closer to the customers. But what they do is really kind of combine the strategy and the execution to make sure that we can duplicate. You can see a SAM equivalent between the automotive around 35 billion, as well as the IoT, industrial, and infrastructure around 33 billion as well. So, big opportunity for us to grow with customers that are big today where we can expand, as well as customers where we believe we can grow significantly in the future. Next slide, please. On the regional side, it's a different ballgame. Here, it's about building a pipeline of new customers. The sales team here is essentially partnering with distribution, making sure we find new customers, engaging them with any product we have, ideally with solutions, and building more of the engagement to get to a more significant engagement. And as the engagement gets more significant, we actually assign resource to get a lot deeper in those customers. So the long-term vision is a lot of our growth will actually come from those customers, and I will show you the designing example later on today. A lot of the growth will come from those customers as they are new for Renesas, where we can engage with the full portfolio that we have on the embedded processing, analog power, and connectivity. So very interesting approach here. Next slide, please. I talked about the technical team and the importance of combining all the skills that we have, the technical competency we have around the company into one sales force. What we are seeing is as we get more focused on the vertical segment with the vertical sales FAE team that I talked about in IoT, infrastructure, industrial, and automotive, our team is becoming a lot more system experts than they are product experts, okay? And this expertise is helping us to not only serve better the customers as we understand better what they are trying to solve, it's actually helping us to define new product better, but also to define the combos. So if you think about our team of architects that are basically defining and designing the POCs, the proof of concept, and the combos of tomorrow, we have basically put this team together with the vertical team that feeds those concepts. So really what we see our leading customers trying to solve gets fed into the winning combos that when we can use to a lot more customers on the regional side. So very kind of holistic, integrated approach on how we become more of a system company and trying to focus on the approach of selling more product per board. On the UX side, Shibata-san talked about the fact that this is a key priority for us. As we serve more customers and as we get broader as a company, we have realized that we have to be a lot easier to do business with and provide a lot of easiness to our customers in terms of implementation of our product, our solution, as well as finding the necessary information. And this kind of drives us back to improve that we can serve at the big customers. So really kind of our broader and deeper is basically that self-fueling in terms of capabilities. If you go to the next slide, please. I talked about the second priority, which is to deliver results. In this environment, what matters the most for us is to make sure that we set ourselves for success in the next few years from now, okay? And we measure that by designing. Shibata-san talked about the fact that we've been continuing to grow nicely. Our designing actually even beat our target that we had for 22, and growing very nicely both on the IoT infrastructure and industrial as well as the auto side. You can see that we have set ourselves another ambitious goal with 24,000 OQN for this year in terms of designing in TV. And actually, based on where we are, we feel like we are well on track to achieve that goal. So very important for us to get there. There are a few things I want to get your attention on that slide. Number one is you will see that the designing is across multiple product and multiple market. We're not growing with one market. We're not growing with one technology. If you look at both analog and power and embedded processing, as well as all the lane we're focusing, every designing is building momentum. Number two is you can see that the mass market, which is the go broader, is actually growing designing 2x the speed of the rest of the segment we are focusing on. That tells you that the solution approach and the engagement with a lot more customers is basically feeding our growth for the future. And last but not least, you can see on the right side that the analog and power CAGR of designing growth is slightly higher than the embedded processing. As I mentioned earlier, with a lot of touch points that we have, selling billions of MCUs and MPUs to a lot of customers and expanding that and expanding our market share, as we talked about earlier, and that Vivek and Salesh will talk about, we have a higher opportunity to attach a lot more analog and power in a lot of our customers. So really kind of showing here on designing the impact of our strategy and our vision. If you go to the next slide, please. Now, the growth will come from the execution of that model, okay? I talked about the duplication, I talked about the diversification, I talked about the deeper and broader. But there are a few things that we are doing and are going to do to really kind of get to next level and accelerate that growth and get to the 20+ billion. Number one is and I introduced that earlier, this 6 lane, okay, which is really the digital lane, okay, and how we not just do more directly and indirectly, but do more with our customers digitally, and I will talk about that in the future. One is this cross-system group cross-selling. How do we make sure that we leverage the full technologies of Renesas in all markets? We used to be very confined on the automotive product for automotive, non-automotive product for non-automotive. Now what we see is in many markets, there is an opportunity for us to leverage this full technology. I'll give you 2 examples. We see great traction with our expanding IGBT product portfolio into energy and industrial market. We see a great opportunity with our position sensors that have been getting a lot of traction on the automotive side, now also on the industrial side. On the flip side, as the architecture of the car is changing and as the SoC needs a lot of high power, we really see a pull from the customers on products that are very similar, if not even the same product that we are selling into the cloud and the server space. So really great opportunity for Renesas to use this across-the-board technology that we have and product that we have in the solution group to go and get to the next level. Last but not least, this is what I mentioned. Our vision is long-term success will be about how do we enable customer to reduce design barrier and reduce complexity. So UX going to next level. How do we make sure customers are implementing solution without complexity? Go to the next slide, please. I talked about solution group cross-selling. You can see it. We started to make inroads in 22, really about how we took the existing product that we have to more customers and to more segments, particularly on the analog power. I mentioned the expansion on the IGBT, great success in taking IGBT to a lot more customers. But we see a huge opportunity to accelerate this year, and the combination into one sales and application and marketing earlier this year is really giving us this opportunity, and you can see that on the design. We really believe this year will give us a lot more acceleration on that front, in particular on the analog power, where we see the technology on both sides of the aisle be able to serve all markets. If you go to the next slide, please. Talk about digital. Digital is the foundation of our future in terms of how we serve the customer. We actually believe more and more customers will self-serve in the future, get information by themselves, and want to really kind of interact with them digitally. We're spending a lot of investment and expanding our capability to be able to serve the customers, as well as using data to understand better our customers. Go to the next slide, please. And what we use for that is the web. The web is really where a big area of investment is for us. It's the always-on customer enablement platform. This is where customers can find content, could be data sheet, white papers, apps notes, tools, lab on the cloud, QC Studio, and any other tools that we have, as well as technical support. Our hope, our strategy, and our goal is really to accelerate customer success by giving them the opportunity to be simple, smooth, and streamlined from searching, selecting, and designing. We continue to invest in our web. We've doubled the size of the team. We've made a lot of improvement in terms of visits, and now we are sitting about 1.2 million visitors on our website per month, and we believe this will continue to explode. We are continuing as well to improve our capabilities. You can see here the introduction of our engineering community. Really the vision of customers can go online and get answers to their own question by themselves without having to, by design, interact with somebody from Renesas or our distributors. So we see great traction there. We've also more recently introduced our online store. This is the beginning. We just introduced it a couple of weeks ago. We have 3,500 products, which are our main product that we want to lead with. But we believe this will continue to expand, and I really wanted to give the customers the ability to select and buy directly on the Renesas web. And as we continue to evolve as a company, as I mentioned, moving from a product sale to a solution sale, we are redesigning as we speak our web, which will give the opportunity to customers as they click on block diagrams of the winning combos to get the full product pop-up with the list of parts and the ability to buy and really kind of make it seamlessly. Next slide, please. The other thing I talked about is how do we make sure that we simplify the ZM process. We believe the customers of the future will reward the suppliers that make their life easier in terms of reducing risk and improving time to market. We've invested in a lot of tools, and we continue to invest. On the left side, you see the lab on the cloud. We introduced that about 2 years ago. The lab on the cloud is basically the broad market winning combos online and the ability for customers to be able to test them without touching them, everything remote, okay? And this is helping customers to really assess the product that we have and tweak and play with it and make their decision. Then we've introduced a couple of months ago the concept of Quick Connect Studio, a tool that really helped customers to start software development without even touching hardware. It's really a drag and drop function that eliminates the need to detail data sheets, understanding, application notes, compatibility checks, and even configuration, and even hunting for software drivers, because the tool is doing it for you and basically helping customers to build the system and starting to develop their software. As we go to customers being ready to move to hardware, we provide the functionality through QC IoT, which is really combining the different bolts together in a seamless way through standard interface that helps the customer in a kit and very efficient and fast way to build the system. Now, as Shibata-san talked about, we don't want to limit the customer experience to only the product that Renesas has. We're actually now embracing partners, software partners, hardware partners, to complement our portfolio so that the customer on our QC Studio and our QC IoT can really leverage the full ecosystem of Renesas and partners to do their full design. And moving forward, we are really believing with QC Studio 2.0, which we will release sometime next year, that we're going to take the design automation to the next level. Next level meaning that you actually can design, debug, do a schematic, and do a layout without even touching hardware, which really our belief long-term is how customers are going to reward suppliers. If you go to the next slide, please. This is really the vision. The vision is to make the customer design journey much easier, much faster, and with less risk. By doing that, we want to leverage both the QC Connect Studio and the QC Connect IoT, which together will help the customer to do that. So that's a fundamental aspect of our vision, which you're going to hear as well from Vivek and Salesh later on today. Next slide, please. Now it comes to my conclusion. I talked about the playbook. I talked about how we're going to drive growth. There are 3 things I want to leave you with on how we're going to get to this 20+ billion. Number 1 is the execution on the playbook of broader and deeper, which is essentially increasing content per customer, leveraging the full portfolio we have and the presence that we have in the embedded processing side, going to more customers and leveraging the shift to solution that we have within WinCombo. Number 2 is the cross solution group cross-selling acceleration that will give us new opportunities on the automotive side, new opportunities on the industrial side, new opportunities on the broad market, the IoT and the infrastructure, using the full portfolio of Renesas. Number 3, which is more mid to long term, is how by creating a seamless journey digitally with the customers, as well as the design, will create more loyalty, reducing design barrier, and getting more traction from customers to buy from Renesas. And we believe this will have a long-term impact, not just on our revenue, but also on our valuation as a company. Thank you.
Well, then we would like to entertain questions. If you do have questions, please use the raise hand button on the Zoom screen. Due to time constraints, we'd like to restrict the questions to 2 per person. Well then, from UBS Securities, Mr. Yasui. Please unmute yourself and present your question.
Thank you very much. I have 2 questions. This is Yasui from UBS. And 2 questions. 1, Renesas.com seems to be very interesting, but how much of the web online sales accounts for today's revenue total? Because it's more like the solution type of business model you really target. But in online, it's like kind of limited the solution providers. I would know like how much about the percentage of today is really going through the online. That's 1. Then also, I've never heard of like the online sales from the competitors. Is any competitor is doing the similar the service? That's the question one for the e-commerce. And then second one, it's distributors. Well, you still have a lot of distributor, but winning combo looks like a solution provided directly from the Renesas, the parent. How do you treat with like a distribution distributors the relationship going forward?
Okay. Thank you very much for your questions. So let me start to answer the first one on the online sales. So first of all, today, this revenue is not very significant, okay? It's a very small portion of our revenue that is basically transacted on our website. We just introduced the e-store, as I said, a couple of weeks ago, but also we have partners like Mother, DigiKey, and many others, but it's not a significant portion. But we believe this will grow for the future. Now, you should not look just at how much sales you're getting. It's how much design-in you're getting, right? It's a lot of touch points. As customers are buying online through your partners and on your direct website, you can trace the customer, the habits and what they are buying, so you can follow up, and this drives not just revenue, but also design-in and revenue for the future. So I believe the growth will come not just from the revenue we're going to transact digitally, but how much will be enabled digitally. Now, you asked me a question about who else is doing that. Many other competitors have an e-store. I would point to Texas Instruments being the leader in that space, having an e-store now for a couple of years. So we are not the only one. Now, to answer your question about distributors. So first of all, we have reduced significantly the number of distributors. We used to have a lot more distributors, and we've reduced it over the last few years. And now, as we combine the automotive and non-automotive sales force into one GSMU, we took another step in reducing the distribution network. And actually, this action was really driven about how do we make sure that every distributor is engaged on the entire portfolio and on the entire market that we serve. Okay, both the four vertical lane as well as the broad market. And this gives us the opportunity not just to do our own combos, but for them to help us by doing their own combos. So now what we see is a lot of our key distributors are starting to do winning combination by themselves, leveraging the capability of Renesas, okay, our MCU, our MPU, our analog, SoC, and power and connectivity, and really take it to the next level. So we believe this reduction of distribution network is actually going to help us to accelerate and get more traction using that. Thank you. Next question, please.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Please press the raise hand button and let us know. We can also take the questions from those who have already placed a question. The next question, Rodney O'Reilly, please unmute yourself and begin your question.
So thank you very much for this insightful presentation. I have two questions. I think the first is in terms of your growth strategy to get to that 20 billion over the, through 2030. How do you see the growth in terms of, your current customers versus new customers? I mean, what do you envision would be the distribution in order to get to that target? That's the first kind of basic question. And the second one has to do with your sales force. I know that you've moved to a solution-based sales force. I mean, my image of that is that, those types of sellers, it probably requires a number of retraining. So if you could just give me an update in terms of how you're addressing that transition of your sales force from product to solution sales. And then just a related question is, how do you see your sales team growing in this area as we get through to 2030. So if you could just give me a sense of what the numbers are today and where do you see this growing through to 2030 to get to that 20 billion number?
Okay. Thank you. So the number one question is, how do we see the growth from the 12.5 thousand OKU to the 20 plus billion between the broad and deeper? I would say it's equal. Okay, and from a percentage standpoint, and you saw it in the designing, you're going to see a lot more growth as a percentage, coming from new customers. And if you look at a lot of our expansion on the MCU side, and Salesh, and we'll talk about our expansion in market share in MCU, and I think Shibata-san talked about it earlier on today. Really, it's a lot of new customers, actually, that we are getting. So from a percentage standpoint, you're going to see that mostly coming from new customers, but from a dollar point of view, it's going to be even between the two, between now and 30. Now, you touch a good point. This is a constant change and retraining and improvement in skills in terms of how you move from product sale to solution sale. I would say on the FAE side and the technical side, we're actually changing the mix. Okay, what used to be an FAE being a product expert are now becoming more solution experts. Okay, and that takes a bit of a different. We're actually hiring sometimes even technical people from our own customers. Okay, so really kind of a change there. From a sales point of view, a lot more requirement to be technical with a lot of depths, to be able to lead the discussion as a consultant with a customer, trying to understand what they want to do instead of what we have. So to lead the conversation in terms of how we solve their problem. Now, you asked me a question, what's going to be the Salesforce side in 2030? I don't know that, to be honest with you, but what I would say is the revenue coming from the vertical side is actually doesn't come at a much higher number of people. So you basically, by duplicating success across more customers in the same vertical, you can achieve that with pretty much the same type of sales force. On the broader side, we will continue to expand as we get deeper into the customer base and as we get more touch points and partner with our distributors. We also need to add, people to be closer to the customers. But the revenue growth is going to be much faster than the OPEX and the number of people we're going to have, which is, I believe, the value of that model, which will drive a lot more fall through and a lot of leverage compared to the number of people we have. So we have about 1,000 sales and FAE around the world. Okay, give and take, if you include the open headcount that we have. So it's about 1,000 people across the board, and fairly even, between the different market and the different lanes and the broad market, and about 60 sales and consultant and 40 on the technical side. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you very much. Bank of America Securities, we have Mikio Hirakawa-san.
Hi, and this is Mikio Hirakawa from BofA Securities. I have two questions, please. First one is with the solution group cross-selling. Do you see any difference in progress of this strategy by region? And if you see some difference, what would be the reason for that difference? That's the first question. And second question is winning combo. Winning combo is you are trying to increase the portion of winning combo, and it's been increasing actually. But winning combo products should have higher value to clients. So how does that contribute to your gross margin target going forward? Okay,
very good question. So the first question about how do we see in different geographies the difference in terms of leveraging this cross-sell of the cross solution group. We don't see a difference by geo, we see a difference by customers. Clearly, the most innovative customers are the ones that really are driving a lot of this use of new technologies that we have across multiple of the product line into a solution. So for instance, we see our leading automotive customers really talking to us about, hey, you guys have a significant position into the cloud space with power. This is the same type of architecture, okay? This is high power, multi-phase around CPUs, and really pulling us into helping them to do their next generation design. So I would say the answer is not really market dependent, but really kind of innovating customers to non-innovative customers. On the IGBT for industrial, we've seen a lot of progress in China, and where we've seen a lot of acceleration, and now followed by Europe on the energy saving type of application. The other question was about the, can you remind me your last question?
Winning combos should have get higher gross margin because it's a higher,
So the benefit of winning combos, as I mentioned, is we are making them a lot more sophisticated. What used to be, a reference design or paper design has got into a real full software and hardware. So the first thing we see is, number one, we get more content. So the benefit of that is more revenue in an easier way, okay? It has become a lot easier for our customers to use, Renesas connectivity, Renesas power, Renesas analog around Renesas MCU than designing somebody else. That's number one. Number two is, of course, we see a benefit because as customers can use it in an easier way, there is less competition for us. So I believe long term, we're gonna see some benefit on the margin because we have less competition. And I think customers are more and more rewarding time to market and easiness to design instead of best product to integrate, okay? And I think, ultimately the companies that will be the leading from a solution standpoint will be able to not only extract more revenue, but extract more margin from the customers as we bring more value. Welcome.
Thank you very much. There appear to be no further questions, and therefore we'd like to close this Q&A section for now. We would like to thank you, Chris,